Hello, everybody, and we are just about ready to start. It's at 6:15, and it's 6:15. There you go. Not bad for time, right? I'm Twanna Carter, and I am an anxiety and career coach for women, and I coach women who are fed up with their anxiety holding them back, and what they really want to do is overcome that stress and doubt so they can get back on track and get their life on track. Thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. I'm going to give everybody just a few seconds as people log on and catch the stream. I do want to say again, thank you for joining me. And just a little note, I do have two screens up. So you'll see me glance one way sometimes because I have a second screen over here. And sometimes I just try to make sure that everything is going fine. And if you joined me for last week's, right, when I talked about disappointments, you know that this is my fourth time going live with StreamYard, and I am really liking the platform. It is very easy to use. I tested it out before I use it, but I never actually went live until I did my first live with it last week, and everything was fine. So if you're looking for some a streaming app that's really easy to use, very simple, it is really great. So this week we are covering, I'm going to be talking about three powerful ways for you to overcome fear and anxiety, right? And so I did want to mention a couple of things that if you do have questions, you can drop those in the chat box, which for me it's over here, might be over there, right? Just drop them in the chat box for me, right? Now I'll answer those on air for you. And also wanted to say welcome to my YouTube audience. It is the first time that I went live with YouTube, and I'm hoping it's streaming there. Um, we'll see afterwards, right? Yep, it says it's broadcasting to YouTube and Facebook. So welcome, all you YouTubers out there, right? I also wanted to mention that I do have some notes. So from time to time, you'll see me glance down to look at my notes. And why am I saying this? Because I have anxiety, right? And so my anxiety shows up by saying, you're going to make a fool of yourself. You're going to stumble over words. What if you mess up? Oh my God, you're live. People are going to see you. So, in order for me to manage my anxiety, I use one of the tools that I use with my coachees. And that is, I acknowledge what I'm anxious about, I acknowledge what can go wrong, and I call it out. You know, oh my God, people are going to know you're using notes. Well, yes, I'm using notes. I prefer not to because I tend to like to ad lib, but because this is part one of a three-part series, I want to be sure that I cover everything with you so that parts two and part three will make sense for you, right? And so again, that's just one of those tools, calling it out for what it is. And yes, I will probably stumble over some words. The world won't end, and I think I'll be okay. All right. And that's just me talking to those anxious voices, anxious negative voices in my head to kind of put them to rest. In if I mess up, I mess up. I've already told you I might, and it's not a big deal, right? All right. And so again, thank you. And I do appreciate you guys coming with me. So today, again, sharing powerful ways for you to overcome anxiety and fear. And again, I want to say that this is part one of a three-part series. So be sure to join me on Thursday, and Friday for parts two and part three. And if you're ever worried about where to catch it at, it'll be announced on YouTube and also as well as on my Facebook page, Twanna Carter, Professional and Personal Coaching LLC, right? So without further ado, today I've got three powerful ways with you to show you, right? Things to talk about to manage your anxiety and fear to overcome it, right? So one of the best things that you can do when you're feeling fearful, there you go, fearful, or you feel that anxiety creeping up, is like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to go wrong? Is breathing. Breathing is one of the fastest ways that you can derail fear and anxiety. Okay. Because when we have anxiety, right, when you're fearful and it becomes anxiety, I call it the light switch. It's a mechanism. I call it the light switch for fight and flight has taken over. And when your fight or flight mechanism is tripped, you have a rush of chemical reactions, chemicals that are released. You have adrenaline that's released, and you have blood being pulled from your digestive system and it's going to your circulatory system because it's like your body is preparing you to either stand and fight or run. And the way that you can derail all of those things popping off, right? Because you don't have any control over it at the time, but you can breathe. And that breathing kind of backs you down. It starts to take you back, right? And so again, if you want to know, right, how this works, try for a moment panting like you're nervous. Even doing that for like 10 or 15 breaths, you kind of get lightheaded, right? You just feel like everything is off kilter. You really can mimic the symptoms of anxiety and fear just by breathing fast, right? Now, if you breathe slower and deeper instead of just breathing from the chest, breathe from the diaphragm. Do that 10 good times, and it is a perfect way to derail fear and anxiety, right? Try it out and see. It works. It is one of the number one things that I use for my clients and I tell them to do. Actually, typically when they come in, I say, what I would like for you to do at least once a day, every day, is breathe slowly. And I teach them one of the ways. And there are many different ways to breathe, right? There's not just one right way, but that is one of the things I do give people who, my clients who are struggling with anxiety. It just works like a charm. You're getting extra oxygen into the brain, and you're teaching the body it's cool, it's chill. You can slow down. It will slow down your heart rate, and you feel like you can kind of access the logical side of your brain to think, right? So that's way number one. Breathing is the fastest way to derail fear and anxiety. Number two is just to act normally, right? Because when I come on, and you can see on my Facebook page, I've done many lives, right? A lot of people will not believe that I have social anxiety, but I do. And I've years and years and years of struggle. I finally figured out how to overcome that hump, right? But still, when I got to do a live, when I first go live, I am still anxious and I am still nervous. And some days it's worse than others. And some days, because you don't see me because I do this off camera, I am literally breathing, right? And I'm breathing. The second thing that I do is I just act normal. I just continue going on because I could say, forget this. I'm counseling this live. I'm way too nervous to deal with the stuff today. I don't have to do this if I don't want to. Counseling it. I could actually do that. That is something I could choose to do. But I choose to go ahead and do the live because I know there are people out there that struggle with anxiety and that struggle with social anxiety like I did. And that's why I'm in this space to help. So I come on and I act normal until that anxiety just is pushed back, it's derailed, and I can just go ahead and say what I got to say, like now, right? So, yes, basically, when you just act normal, you're communicating to the fearful part of yourself that, well, things are going to go on normal anyway. Everything's okay. So we might as well keep it rolling. It's one of the best things to do is just act normal. Now, some people will call it fake it till you make it. And some people say, I got problems with that. Really, just act normal. Act normally, just like you would anyway. And you'll pick up and you'll keep going, right? It happens every time. Even when I got to go on stage and speak to people, I'm giving a speech, people have called me to speak. I'm sitting in that chair, breathing first of all, and acting normal. I'm sitting in the chair. Nobody knows I'm going like, oh my God, there's 3,000 people out there, or on Facebook Live. I don't know who's watching, but I literally act normal and your brain will just kick in and you'll go on like you need to go. It just falls in place, right? Of course, there's some practice that should go along with that. You should kind of be familiar with your subject because those things do help to take away that anxiety. And as you saw me do at the top of the hour, say, hey, I get anxious sometimes. And you're going to see me glance at my paper, right? Glance at my notes to be sure I cover everything. Those are just those tools to go ahead and act normal and keep doing what you got to do, right? So that was number two, act normal. So the third way we're going to share today, powerful ways to manage fear and anxiety, is spend time with supportive friends and your family. This one can never be, you can't do this too much, right? Because your friends and your family, they support you. And then you're meeting a basic need. We have these basic needs, right? And a basic need to belong and feel like we're cared for and we belong to a group, we belong to a family. Those things really help. Number one, they help you to relieve stress and they help you to relieve anxiety. And sometimes you can even, chit chat and say, hey, I've got this thing that I'm going to do. It makes me so nervous every time I do it. And normally your family and friends will pat you on the back. Now, let me say this, because Some of us have trifling family members and friends. It happens, right? It happens from time to time. So those are not the friends you or family you want to go to for support, because they're trifling, they're not supportive. Those are two different things, right? And so I understand that some of us are not on greater terms with their family. Well, find the people who act as your family, right? They stand instead of your family, because I get it. Some families are not there and they're not supportive, or they may be overly anxious and tell you, you shouldn't do that. Oh my God, why would you do that? So find the people who are supportive of you, talk to those people. You know that with shelter in place, we can't necessarily go and see everybody, depending on where they are, whether you're open for business or you're not. But a Zoom call works, a phone call works. Just, you can actually go stand across the street and talk to your neighbor. You don't have to be 2 feet apart. You can be 10 feet apart. But the people who are supportive for you, reach out and spend time with them, because they do help you to get over fear and anxiety. I remember that I was so fearful and so anxious when I was in high school that I really didn't talk to a lot of people. Yeah, I just did not. And so I was very comfortable, however, at church. And I remember a high school friend came with me and she said, you acting funny because you don't act this way at school. You're acting in a different manner at church. You should be the same everywhere. She didn't realize that I had anxiety, but I felt comfortable at church. So I was a different person at church because I was comfortable. I wasn't as fearful and I wasn't as shy. And that's what I'm talking about. When you spend time around supportive people, you get very comfortable and your fear just recedes. That anxiety just goes away when you're with people who you feel comfortable, right? So, those are my 3 tips for you today and how to overcome fear and anxiety. Tip number 1 was breathing. It's the best things you can do. Get that extra oxygen to your brain. It slows down your heart rate, brings you out of fight or flight. Number 2, if you got to do something, act normally. Breathe and act normal. You act and you do everything you've practiced for. If you're giving a speech in front of people, you just trot and go right ahead on doing what you do, and your brain will just kick in and you'll start to perform and you should be okay, right? And then number 3 is spend time with supportive friends and family. Supportive being the key word there. If you got trifling friends or trifling family members, those are not the ones we're talking about. We're talking about the ones who are supportive of you, because when you're around people you trust, you get to feel comfortable and your anxiety tends to recede and your fear tends to recede. So those are my 3 ways today, right? And remember that this is part 1 of a 3-part series. I'll be right back here on Thursday talking about additional ways that you can overcome fear and anxiety. And I want to check to see. Ava says right. Yes. I just want to check and see if I had any other questions out there. But yes, if you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I am going to sign off. And as I always like to say, for those of you catch me on a replay, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that I have people in my group. I do have a group, Rising Above Anxiety. It's anxiety support community for women. So you are more than welcome to join the group, and I will go ahead and pop that. I'll go ahead and pop that link up there for you. But I know that I have a lot of ladies in that group that for some of them it's already late, right? It's already at nighttime. It's 11 or 12 or like 3 or 4 in the morning, because I know I have people from India and people from the UK and from New Zealand and Africa and just all different places. And so what I like to do is when I put the live out there, they catch me on the replay, and they always do. And I always like to say, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming back on that replay. And I'm kind of moving in slow motion, but I finally got that link. Yes, you can join my anxiety support group. It is free. Just join. You find more videos out there and different things that I do with that group. And I love it because it pops out on there twice. So the link is out there. Feel free to join. Thanks, people, for joining in. And I will see you Thursday for part 2 of overcoming fear and anxiety. Take care. Bye-bye.